It's been 8 months since seekers and the faithful alike have been able to visit the birthplace of Jesus, to wander through its narrow streets, Manger Square, the Church of the Nativity. The COVID-19 pandemic has crushed Bethlehem's already fragile economy, which is almost completely dependent on pilgrims. And yet, the remaining Christians in this city are struggling to preserve the birthplace of the Christian faith and its holy sites now and for the future. They wait for the return of those pilgrims who long to gaze into the Nativity Grotto and wonder what it must have been like 2,000 years ago, when a glorious star led wise men and shepherds to kneel before an infant in a manger. Join us on November 19th as we retrace the light that still shines upon Bethlehem today through the eyes of the Christians who live there. Bring the Star of Bethlehem into your home this Christmas and help a remarkable community of faith preserve this humble and holy land for future generations.
Hi, welcome to the international community of the Holy Sepulchre's Bethlehem Star event. My name is Austin. We're so happy that you're here with us today. As you can see, I'm in London. London, like so many places in the world, has been marked by a time of uncertainty, whether that's lockdowns, loved ones falling ill, or travel restrictions. Sometimes it's difficult to find hope for the future. During this Advent season, our hearts and minds usually drift towards Bethlehem, where we remember the birth story of Christ. As you can see in the screen next to me, the streets of Bethlehem are much, much emptier than they normally would be. Today, in stark contrast with that, we want to tell you the story of the Christians who year after year have been recalling and retelling the birth story of Christ, the local Christian community in Bethlehem. Normally, we'd want to go to Bethlehem to hear their stories, but since that's not possible, we want to take Bethlehem to you, virtually, tonight. Some of the contents of today's program have been pre-recorded, but that's just because of internet connections and the risk that comes with weak ones. Most of the event is live, and so because of that, we encourage you to submit questions into the chat box, and our team will do our best to answer them later in the event. We're so happy you've joined us this evening, and now I want to hand over to our Chief Executive of ICOS, Anita Delhaas, who joins us from the Netherlands.
Greetings from Amsterdam. Behind me is Amsterdam Centraal, one of the busiest railway stations in the world. Normally, I take the train there to go to Schiphol Airport when I fly to see my friends or I fly for a business trip. But today, as we know, we're all at home. We first had in the Netherlands an intelligent lockdown. We now have a partial lockdown, and maybe soon we'll have a complete lockdown. I'm sure you're all very familiar with that in your part of the world. If you're like me and you love to travel, and then you long to be alive, to be free of all these limitations, whether they're social, political, or economical. But fortunately, we live in an amazing time where we can travel virtually. I'm so excited that in this coming hour, we will be able to travel together to Bethlehem, to visit an ancient city where a miraculous star once led wise men to a little baby laying in a manger, a Savior, Jesus Christ the Lord. We will meet people who now call Bethlehem their home. We will listen to their stories. We will learn about their present struggles and walk with them down the streets of Bethlehem, the very streets Joseph and Mary were walking in search for an inn that Christmas. By retracing their steps, it will help us to imagine the miracle which took place 2,000 years ago, from which we draw our strength, peace, and love today. What a wonderful way to prepare our hearts for Christmas, to reflect on the hope we have in God.
Welcome to our Bethlehem Star event. My name is Austin, and tonight, as you will see in a few moments, we are live in the streets of Bethlehem, but we're also live around the world. The International, the Community of the Holy Sepulchre, is unique. We are a community of people scattered around the world, in the US, the UK, the Netherlands, and beyond, coming together for the support of Christians and the churches in the Holy Land. Tonight, you're going to meet a few co-hosts, a few colleagues of mine, Drew, Stephen, and Nita, who'll be interviewing a number of people in Bethlehem. We'll get a tour of a site, and we're going to hear more about Christmas in Bethlehem this year. So let's go to the Church of the Nativity, the space where Christians have marked the birthplace of Christ for nearly 2,000 years.
Good evening, my name is Roni Tabash. I am from Bethlehem. Tonight I'm presenting for you the Nativity Church. In this church where Jesus was born, before 8 months, in this church they used to pass every day around 6,000 pilgrims. Imagine, through this small door, 6,000 pilgrims. And from the pandemic of Corona 8 months ago until now, we are not having anything. We are hoping that Bethlehem will come back again. We hope that the pilgrim will come back again, because really we are depending on tourism and pilgrims in the Holy Land. Especially, we always say, this church is done by stones, but the pilgrims, they are the real stones of the church. So we are near the Nativity Church. Across the Nativity Church, my grandfather opened this store in 1927, the Nativity store. And my father came the second generation, and I am the third generation in the same spot, in the same store. Now, since 8 months, we are coming every day, but without any work. We open just 2 hours to sit in the store, but really we lost all our business in this store.
How to do it in this way.
There we go. Welcome back. I now want to introduce our good friend Roni, who's in Bethlehem. Roni, how are you? And Anita, I know that you've been speaking to Roni quite a bit over the last few weeks.
Yes, I did, Austin, actually. It was great. I met Roni through a mutual friend, and it's so great to see Roni now on the screen and walking us tonight through the streets of Bethlehem. And we'll also have kind of some musical contributions to this program. Maria and Anna will be contributing with a beautiful song called the Bethlehem Star, which is composed by a lady called Irinda Yusupova from Moscow. And now I would like to go to Roni and to greet him. Hey, Roni, how are you? Kifan.
Good evening, Anita. I am very good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, that's good. You look cold on the square. What's
It's
the
a little bit
there?
square. I think almost 14 to 15, but it's cold a little bit.
That's summer in the Netherlands.
Yes,
So that's
I
not
know.
too bad. Hey, Roni, it was so nice to meet you a couple of weeks ago, and we had a couple of conversations, and you came up with this great idea about shedding the light from Bethlehem to the rest of the world. Can you tell a bit about that idea we discussed?
Yes, good evening, everyone, again. And I will tell you something about our idea. My idea was, as you can see, I am a little bit in front of the Nativity Church, and Bethlehem passing really in a difficult time, because we are near Christmas and there is no pilgrims and tourists coming to us, to the Nativity Church. That's really for us a difficult situation. It's I never in my life seen a situation like that. So that's why the idea of the star was, the star where Jesus was born, and Bethlehem, the city where Jesus was born. So my idea was to send, because every year all the pilgrims, they are coming to visit the star in Christmas or before Christmas. My idea is to send the star of Bethlehem in Christmas to the world. So mainly to keep the people safe in their houses. And also we can send the star in Christmas to all over the world. So that's why I created this star. And also the second aim, as you know, 80% of the people in Bethlehem, they are working in tourism and with pilgrims. Since March, the people, they lost their job opportunities. They lost their jobs. Actually, as you know that I'm working in our souvenir store, even the people they are working with me, who they are producing the olive wood and mother of pearl manufacture, also they lost their jobs. So I thought to do a project to let some of these families working and to send it to the world, and to send to each person in the world a star in Christmas. So that was my idea, and I hope that this idea will continue not just in Christmas, for all the year, because the Star of Bethlehem, it's for all the year. And in Bethlehem, we have Christmas all the year. So that was my idea of the star.
Wonderful. Later on in the program, you'll hear how you actually can obtain such a star.
Yeah, and Roni, when we spoke, you told me that you mentioned that no one's been able to visit Bethlehem this year, that usually the city that is full of tourists and pilgrims this time is empty. Yeah. And I'm just curious if you could speak a bit more. How has this impacted Bethlehem as a whole, and especially your family?
You know, for us, not just my family, this pandemic of Corona affected all the families in Bethlehem. And as I told you, Bethlehem depends on tourism and pilgrims. And we are also near Christmas. And it's very sad for my family and for all the families in Bethlehem to be without real Christmas, to see the country full crowded of people, without pilgrims, without tourists. That's a horrible situation for us, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And I know that you also spoke with some of your neighbors about this very question. So let's go to those videos and those comments that they had.
Good evening, everyone. This is Basel Khoury from Bethlehem, the Holy Land.
Hi, Ramzi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ihab Gharib. I am from the Holy Land, Bethlehem.
Hi, how are you?
How are you, my friend?
How are you?
See you. You see our situation now?
How is the pandemic affecting your living life in Bethlehem?
It affects in many ways economically, because I lost my job in Jerusalem.
Well, the pandemic is affecting the whole world, but we talk about Bethlehem as a small city, because Bethlehem has a big trouble in the issue of the industries, because the main industry is the tourism.
I work in the tourism section. I have a small workshop, so we're carving statues to sell it to the tourists that they came to Bethlehem especially.
Look, now I'm working delivery, not tour guide. My old work, it was tour guide.
And
since
now?
2007 till now. 15 years was working tour guide, but now look at me, I work delivery.
And since March 5th was the last day of tourism in Bethlehem, all the hotels were shut down and all the borders to Bethlehem were closed, so we didn't have any tourists since that day until today. And there was no other income or another option to the people to have jobs and to work to get their real income.
I work with the tourists, and my wife, she get half salary now because the economic is really bad here in Palestine.
Our business is reduced about 70%, and we don't know until when.
We're out of job, so we don't know when it's gonna come back.
It's affecting a lot financially and more than that.
You know, we're living day by day, and we don't know for how long we can, stay positive.
I lived here my whole life.
We hope we don't have to give up.
I hope from the God.
أنا اسمي جونير فضول بصلي ليسوع عشان الكورونا تروح. My name is Victor Tabash from the Nativity Church in Bethlehem. I light this candle for the world.
It's so important to hear the voices of people who are on the ground in Bethlehem. And now I'm joined by my colleague, Drew Bowling, who's joining us in Washington, D.C. And Drew is the director of U.S. Public Affairs for ICOS. And Drew, you know, this story, the impact of this, our organization's been following it since the beginning, Hope for the Holy Land campaign and throughout the year. And I'm really glad that you're here with us, but I'm very, very glad that we have Shireen with us. Shireen is joining us from Bethlehem, and she's the director of community and outreach at Bethlehem Bible College. So thank you so much for being with us. And Drew, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Austin. And thank you, Shireen, for joining us today for this very special event. Would you please further introduce yourself and the Bethlehem Bible College to our viewers today, as well as the outreach ministries you and your institution steward to serve the communities in Bethlehem and the Bethlehem district?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Shireen, as my friend just mentioned. I live in Basel Khoury, which is in outskirts of Bethlehem. It's the shepherd's field where the angels were given or told the good news to the shepherds, and they actually traveled to Bethlehem. Yes, I am here to represent to you and to give greetings from the heart of Bethlehem. Greetings to all of you who are watching us tonight. On behalf of the Bethlehem Bible College, I give you greetings and wishing that we will have a very better, let's say, a Christmas this year. I also would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to come to Bethlehem, despite the fact that you can't even come personally, but we thank God for the technology. Well, Bethlehem Bible College is a very unique institute. It is a very unique college where we teach about Jesus. We teach pure theology. Our mission at the Bethlehem Bible College is to train leaders to serve in their own community. Our mission as well is to model Christ and also to give the evangelical and the Christian perspective to everybody, especially all over the world. In addition to that, Bethlehem Bible College has a very unique department called Shepherd Society. And Shepherd Society also aims to join together with Bethlehem Bible College, because this is the baby of Bethlehem Bible College. We at Bethlehem Bible College felt the need that the Shepherd Society should exist. And what does the Shepherd Society do? The Shepherd Society models Christ in every person that knocks our door. Not only this, but we also seek to transform the lives of people. We are a Christian institute, but we serve all over the world. Not only, all over the world in terms of aid, but we try to reach all over the world, and we try to serve all the community, whether Christians or Muslims. And this is the uniqueness of the Shepherd Society as well. So this is about Bethlehem Bible College, about the Shepherd Society. Especially now, the Shepherd Society has been going 24/7 because we have people who are suffering. The Palestinians have been suffering for so many years, but now it is the time that they are suffering even more because of the pandemic. We have work every single day. We have people knocking our door every single minute. We have people asking for medicine. Unfortunately, the health system in Palestine is not only deteriorating, is actually broke down. And also people who are asking for even food to be on their table every night or every evening. So we have a lot to do at the Shepherd Society. We are so grateful that we have friends like you who are here to hear about Bethlehem Bible College and the Shepherd Society.
Rain, my friend, it is certainly safe to say your work is more important than ever. As a woman, you have particular insights into the challenges that women face in the Bethlehem district. For example, during these financially trying times, juggling work and childcare at home, and facing challenges ranging from food scarcity to increased instances of domestic abuse. Could you please elaborate on this?
Yes, well, as you all know, or maybe know, that March 4th was the end of what we call happiness in the Bethlehem district, Palestine, and all over. And this is where we actually stopped receiving tourists coming to the land. And this is where the economy deteriorated, even collapsed completely, because we depend a lot on tourism. And what happened back then, and still happening now, that many people who are employed, they lost their jobs. Many institutes tried to keep up with giving salaries to their team, but at the same time, they could not continue to do so. So unemployment went up way high. And what really happened? Who was affected the most? I mean, I don't want to take it just from a personal perspective as a woman, but I think women were affected the most, and I can explain why. Because one, the children are home, longer than we thought so, or we expected. They don't have school, so the children are left alone, with their mom. And plus, you have to do, if they have to do what's called the distance learning or online learning, then the mom has to keep up with that. If you have more than one child, then the mom needs to keep up with that. If you don't have, laptops or iPads, then what can you do? Then you rotate. Who is in charge of that? The mom is in charge of that. I'm not saying that men are absent completely, but most of the job is under women. Women are doing the job. Besides that, women are cooking. Besides that, women are trying to comfort or trying to give some peace of mind to the husbands who are staying at home at the same time. So imagine all of a sudden a full house of people. And believe it or not, we through Bethlehem Bible College have been researching. We found out that the abuse, the family abuse and the women abuse, not only the family in general, has increased drastically because women are suffering the most. They have to overcome all the obstacles, yet they can't. And that's why I really salute every single woman who lives in Palestine, who lives in Bethlehem, because she really has to take a lot to be able to carry all the family under her wings. At the same time, I really also salute men who are trying to keep up with the situation. I mean, it's not easy that one of these days, you just close your eyes, you open your eyes with no job and even no food. And if you don't have savings, and even if you have savings, it doesn't last long.
Well, Shireen, over and above specific challenges which you've just articulated, in an earlier conversation with me, you emphasized that the Christian presence in Bethlehem, as indigenous to the region, wishes to stay in their ancestral homeland. It would certainly be an existential crisis should the pandemic force these people to flee their homes. Can you please elaborate for us here today on this grave reality?
Yes. It's sad, but yet true. I mean, my concern and my worry as a Palestinian Christian, that one of these days when this is over, then most of the Christians will just want to leave the land. And if they do so, then it is a very sad moment for the history, for not only the Palestinian history, for the history of the world, because I strongly believe that the Christians are the indigenous of this country, of this land, especially in Bethlehem, let's say. I mean, if we all decide to leave, then there is no hope. And that's why I'm here today, because I'm hopeful. I'm here today because I do not want you, my friends, to come to Bethlehem and only enjoy holy stones. If you enjoy holy stones, what a pity. I want you to enjoy the living stones. When you come and interact and talk to the people of the land, then this is the momentum. This is the heart of the good things that are happening. Jesus came to this land. He came to Bethlehem for a specific reason. He did not come for us to live. He came because we are the salt of the earth. And this is my message. I do not want my people to be living, whether in the UK or in America or in the Netherlands. And I have no excuse to blame these people, but I want to bring hope to the people who are still in Palestine, who are still in Bethlehem, to stay and to connect and to be able to stay and connect. This is why you guys, our friends, are here tonight. You're here to convey a message, and we're here to give a message as well, that we want the Palestinian Christians to serve Christians, Muslims, whoever knocks on our door. And this is the message, actually, of the Bethlehem Bible College. And this is why the Shepherd Society is the social arm for the Bethlehem Bible College, because we believe that Christians should stay in Palestine.
Shireen, thank you for your inspirational example. Thank you for your unrelenting work during this daunting time. And we really do appreciate you taking the time to speak to us from Bethlehem.
Yes, thank you very much, and wishing everybody a happy Christmas. I know it's early, so we start with the Advent. and enjoy the Advent, wishing everybody a peaceful life and a peaceful, let's say, journey with this situation that we're all undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shireen.
أنا خوليا بنورة من بيت سحور. أنا كنت أشتغل 5 أيام بالأسبوع، هلا بشتغل 3 أيام، أيام يومين، صدف بشتغل 4. أولادي عندي ولدين، ولد متجوز وولد المتجوز بشتغل في صنطواري، وهلا ما بشتغل من 5-3 ما اشتغل ولا أي يوم لأنه ما في سياحة، والصغير بشتغل خشب زقون وبرضه ما في سياحة، لما انهم يشتغلوا ما في شغل، و2 ما بيشتغلوا، أنا الوحيدة البعيل فيهم يعني، وجوزي برضو بيشتغلش حالياً من الوضع اللي إحنا فيه من الكورونا، وهذا هو يعني الحياة كثير صعبة مش سهلة يعني. الكورونا كثير أثر علينا، وأيام الانتفاضة كثير أحسن من الكورونا، يعني ما انزنقنا ولا تضايقنا للوضع اللي إحنا فيه.
مرحبا، روزيت مسلم من بيت لحم. أنا متجوزة وعندي 5 أولاد. عندي محل أواعي، وكتير المحل تأثر فترة الكورونا، خاصة فترة أول 3 أشهر يعني كان عندنا إغلاق، ما كانش في مبيعات بالمرة. وجوزي موظف بيشتغل في بيت جالة، وتأثر كتير في وضع الكورونا كمان. احنا هون منطقة المهد، قريبة على كنيسة المهد، وهون معظم الشارع يعني بيعتمد على السياحة، وعندنا الأوتيلات والسنتورية كلها سكرت بسبب جائحة كورونا، وبنصلي إنه إن شاء الله فترة الكريسماس يرجع كل شيء طبيعي، وهذا أملنا يعني، وهي صلاتنا.
Hi, good evening again. I'm here now with Martin Witteveen. He is a judge in Amsterdam, and he's also the director to Bridges to Justice. We know each other from our time at International Justice Mission. I worked there, and Martin was on the board. He worked also as an advisor on several international crime cases in, I think, Rwanda and Uganda. And he also served as a prosecution expert for EU Pol cops in Ramallah. Presently, Martin is the chair of ICUS in the Netherlands. And I know that you worked in Ramallah and you visited Bethlehem very often when you were there.
Anita, that's correct. Actually, I have been in Bethlehem many times at the time when I lived and worked in the area. And I've always enjoyed it. And I've been in Bethlehem also this time of the year, where at the manger square, they are lighting the Christmas tree. And, you know, Bethlehem is such an exciting and vibrant city. It's always full of people. People are walking in the streets and visiting the sites. The restaurants are open, and people are sitting on terraces. And when I watch the videos about how Bethlehem is now, it makes me really very sad.
You're clearly a busy man, Martin. Why do you serve on the board of ICUS in the Netherlands?
Well, I support ICUS because I believe Jerusalem and the whole area is what we call the cradle of the world religions, and including Christianity. And I think we need to protect the heritage of Christianity in the area. We need to support the people, and the best way of support people is practical support.
Well, I think you might be really interested in Roni's idea of the star, and bringing the light to the homes in the US and in Europe and in Asia. Isn't that a great idea Roni had?
Absolutely. Roni, shukran katir for doing this. And I'm very interested. It looks like a very nice piece, unique piece of craftsmanship. And I'm very interested. So how can I get it? And actually, my wife asked me if she can order at least 10 of them. So how can I get them?
You can get them through Anita, ICOS.
Yes, that is so right. And I'll explain how you actually can get involved in our Bethlehem Star events, because Roni made these beautiful stars with the families who kind of work for him. And ICOS bought these stars, and we want to give them away to people who donate to us. And how can one get involved with ICOS? Well, first of all, we need prayers. We've heard the stories of Bethlehem, and we want to pray for people like Roni and Shireen and many of the other people we heard in the streets. We want to pray for the men and the women and the children of Bethlehem. Secondly, you can actually sign up for our newsletter. ICOS has a monthly newsletter, which you can find on our website, www.icos.org. And you can give a donation. You'll see a QR code, which you can scan with your phone, and then you'll go straight to the donation page on our website. And you can give a donation in the US or a donation in the UK and in Europe. We have special accounts for that. So that's ways how you can actually support ICOS. And then again, I guess you might think, what is ICOS? I have not really heard about ICOS. And we made this nice video in which we explain a bit more about the work we do and how we are supporting the churches in the Holy Land. So let's watch the video together.
Nearly 2,000 years ago, in a small room in Jerusalem, a group of women and men experienced the power of God and went on to change the world. That day was Pentecost, and those disciples founded a community of Christians in Jerusalem that lives on to this very day. The church in Jerusalem has faced many threats and crises over its lifetime, but through it all, the church kept its God-given mission in sight: to worship God, share hospitality, and serve the community.
And that's why we call upon the church worldwide to stand with the Christian community.
Despite 2,000 years of faithfulness, the Christian community still faces difficulties today, and some of these threaten its very existence. The church's mission must continue, and to do this, the future of the Christian community of the Holy Land must be secured. The international community of the Holy Sepulchre was established to help secure a brighter future for Christians in the Holy Land. We are the only organisation commissioned to do so, with the blessing and support of the Council of Patriarchs and Heads of Churches in Jerusalem. ICOS itself is an expression of Christian unity in action in the Holy Land. Since 2018, ICOS has advocated on behalf of Holy Land churches and Christians, ensuring that their voices are heard in important political centres around the world.
The Holy Land is blessed to have the fraternal collaborations among those that care for the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
When the municipal government of Jerusalem unfairly and unjustly tried to charge the church's back taxes going back decades, ICOS went to work. Having coordinated a congressional letter that arrived on the Israeli Prime Minister's desk, the matter was resolved and the bill withdrawn. More recently, radical groups have been trying to seize property in the Christian quarter of Jerusalem. Church leaders have united against this, and we have echoed and amplified their opposition in Washington and London.
Let me be clear. It will change and damage the character of the Christian quarter forever.
ICOS also works with universities, NGOs, regional church leaders, and other advocacy organisations. In 2019, ICOS and the Hudson Institute hosted a successful breakout session at the International Ministerial for Religious Freedom, hosted by the US State Department in Washington, D.C.
The global trend is positive towards recognizing the power of the churches that they bring to peace.
ICOS exists to help enable churches to flourish in the birthplace of the Christian faith, where for many Jerusalem is a city built from ancient stones. ICOS exists to support the living stones of the region, the Christian men, women and children who live throughout that Holy Land.
And if we don't do that for the living stones in the Middle East, then we will have doubly failed them.
We hope you'll join our international community of the Holy Sepulchre and help ICOS to help others flourish and thrive.
Dear friends from all over the world, it's so nice that we know that you're watching us and that you want to go with us to travel to Bethlehem. Well, I made it years ago with my husband, and we get a tour of Jamal Saba, And he showed us the churches, and he showed us everything what was going on already there in Bethlehem. Later on, I was in a church in Jerusalem nearby where he lived, and I suddenly saw there a small shop, and they sold there some stuff from Bethlehem. And that's why I brought this little angel. And this little angel from Bethlehem brings me to the song I want to sing this afternoon for you. It's Christmas Star, and the composer is Iraide Yusupova. And it brings us to the Star of Bethlehem and our belief in Christ who will save us.
And now I want to introduce you to my co-host, Stephen. Stephen is the Director of Programs for ICOS and spearheads a lot of our efforts on public affairs. And Stephen, tell me about an interview that you had this week.
Hi, Austin, and hello to everyone around the world joining us today. Thanks so much for being with us. And yes, earlier I spoke with Bishop Jonathan Goodall, who's the Bishop of Ebbsfleet in the Church of England, and also a trustee of ICOS. And we were joined live from Bethlehem in Palestine by Reverend Father Ignatios, who is the superior of the Orthodox monastery there and the representative in Bethlehem of the Patriarch of Jerusalem, His Beatitude Theophilus III. And it was an honor really to listen to Father Ignatius speak to Bishop Jonathan about the living in Bethlehem during the pandemic, how the churches have coped, some of the challenges they've had, the challenges facing their congregations, what they've tried to do to overcome it, and how we around the world can support them and support the churches in Bethlehem at this very difficult time.
Yeah, and I guess this is pretty cool because we've heard so much from local Christians, which has been really powerful. And now this is a slightly different perspective, and it's a perspective from the churches. Is that kind of what you gathered from this interview?
Absolutely, yes. He's a senior Orthodox priest, and so he has a bit of a different perspective coming from his position. And I'm sure all of our viewers will enjoy hearing from him.
Great. Well, let's go to it now.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm delighted to introduce you to Bishop Jonathan Goodall, the Bishop of Ebbsfleet and trustee of the International Community of the Holy Sepulchre, and Reverend Father Ignatios, superior of the Monastery of the Shepherds and superior of the city of Beit Jalla, where he is a representative of the Patriarch of Jerusalem, and he is joining us now from Bethlehem. We're delighted to have you both with us. And I will hand over to Bishop Jonathan, who will be having a short conversation with Father Ignatios.
Thank you. Father Ignatios, we're really pleased to welcome you and to introduce you and your work to our listeners. Thank you for being willing to talk. Many of our listeners may be familiar with the very centre of Bethlehem. You are, we've heard, the superior and monastic leader of the Orthodox in Beit Sahur and Beit Jalla, two districts to the east and to the west of the famous city centre, and they won't know those so well. So I wonder, could you start by giving us a sketch of how many people, how many Christians live in the area in which you serve?
First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity and a chance to be here with you. I thank you so much. This is an honor for me. I've been here in Holy Land for about 30 years. I came as a pilgrim from Greece after being in Canada for about 6 years. So I came here just for a week and I never left. I've been in Bethlehem area and in the city of Beit Sahur for about 30 years. Here in Beit Sahur, the population is about 18,000 people, and the majority, they are Christians. I believe the Christians all together, the Greek Orthodox and Catholics and Lutheran, the majority, they must be about 14,000 people, only in Beit Sahur. Of Beit Jalla, also the same, the Orthodox people there, they are 8,000 to 9,000. Altogether, the Christians, they about 13,000, 14,000 people. So the majority of the Christians, they live in Beit Sahur and in Beit Jalla. In Bethlehem, they are less.
Yes. Now, here in this country, all the churches, indeed all the traditional religious communities, have been very much affected by the virus, not only in public health terms, but also restricted in terms of the practice of our faith and our collective worship. We're in fact currently in a second period when all public worship is suspended and places of worship can only be used for private prayer. Nonetheless, people are finding opportunities, inventive ways to pray together and to maintain charity in the community. I wonder, could you tell us first a bit about how the virus in your community has affected the worship of Christians?
Since February, I can say that it started the pandemic here in Holy Land. we realize that they are less, the people. Especially here in Beth Khoury and Bethlehem, the people, they are afraid to participate, to come to worship. In Bejala, in the city of Bejala, not so much. I mean, I see every Sunday that we have 300, 400, 500 people. Of course, all they wear masks and they try to keep distances, but the church there every Sunday is full. In Bethlehem, sometimes you might see the Nativity Church, 10 people, 20, 30.
Goodness.
So much less than it was before. And it is the fear. The people, they are afraid.
But you haven't suffered the closure of churches?
We did during Easter that passed. Yes. Yeah.
Very, very tough.
And before a month. Yes, before a month also.
Yeah.
So the same. The people, they would watch the worship and the liturgies through internet.
Yes.
Only.
So we're much the same. Much the same. I was able to talk recently with Patriarch Ephraim of the Syriac Orthodox from Syria about how the virus is intensifying all the other problems that his church and society faces, where unfortunately the pandemic seems now to be becoming endemic because of the problems. Bethlehem is a place very dependent on outsiders and pilgrims for its economy and its livelihood. And that must present huge challenges. Can you tell us which areas of life are the greatest struggle for Christian families and communities?
Life here in Holy Land since the pandemic started has changed a lot. I mean, everything is dead. There's no color. There is no people, no pilgrims, no tourists. So everything has been closed. You find open only the supermarkets and the pharmacies. The hotels are closed, the souvenir stores, the monasteries also. So it's like you live in a dead city, in a dead Holy Land. Holy Land is full of grace, of course, but without pilgrims, everything is dead. The income here and the life was the appearance of the pilgrims that they used to come and visit and all the monasteries and venerate the holy sites. So without pilgrims here in Holy Land, life is completely different. And I hear from the elderly people, from Palestinians of our area here, of Bethlehem area, that they are over 80 years old. They say that they have never experienced such a difficulty, and they have never imagined to live such a life. I mean, the site is completely different. Even though they lived and they passed wars and intifadas, since last February, they cannot believe what today we experience in Holy Land. And also unemployment, no work, no money. People, they come every day and they knock the door of the monasteries and they demand for food, for money, for work. How many they do come every day and they tell me, please, Father, help us. But already here in my monastery, I have 3 workers. I used to have 7, but now it's not possible. I don't need the 7 and I cannot handle, there's no money. So if they do come every day and they demand for work, how to work, where to work, and how to pay them. There's no money. There is no income, and the income was because of the pilgrims.
Tell us about the effect in healthcare and education. How are those areas being affected?
The hospitals all the time they are full. Many people. The schools, they are not all open. The majority of the schools on a lockdown. Here, our school that we have in the Shepherd's Field, thanks God, up to now we didn't have any coronas, any people that they were infected. But the other schools in Bethlehem area, and Bejala, and here in Beth Khoury, the majority, the students and the teachers, they work and they study online.
Yeah. It's very, very like our own situation. It's very helpful because we don't have to use too much imagination because it's our own experience. plenty of struggles. But again, I'm sure from our experience that there's an outpouring of God's grace, and there are many positives in the situation. And so I'm also sure that our listeners would like to know a bit more about the ways in which, either as an Orthodox parish or the monastery, you're trying to serve the needs of fellow Christians with food parcels or attempting to support different aspects of life.
Yes, this is the good thing and the positive that since coronavirus has started here in Holy Land, all the local Christian churches, they are united. I mean, the local churches, they stand by the Christians here in Holy Land, and they play a major role in supporting their existence here in Holy Land, in the Middle East, and to help financially the people. And all the time we receive trucks with parcels of food, and then we distribute to all the people, to all the Christians, and not only to the Christians. We have many Muslims that they come and we do help them, and we try to stand, all the Christians united. This is the good and the positive thing here in Holy Land.
That's a very
through
positive
all this
thing.
Difficult period.
To be together.
Yes, and we also appreciate the love of all our friends, your love, your interest, and the effort to strengthen and to support our Christian community in Holy Land. As his beatitude, our Patriarch of Jerusalem, Theophilos, he mentioned that the churches of Holy Land, they have been long calling Christians and the faithful from all over the world, in all the countries and all the nations, to support and to stand us here, where the Christian mission began. And they do. We see this help.
We certainly do, and we want to find increasingly more ways of our solidarity, because who could imagine the rest of the Christian world without our share in the life of the Christians in the Holy Land? Which leads me to a last question. Can you tell us how you think we should best pray for you? When we remember you daily, how should we be praying for you?
We want from you a candle every day. I mean, a candle that Christ will have mercy on us, of all of us, because we see that now there is crisis everywhere, not only in Holy Land, but in Europe, in America, in Canada, where my relatives, they do live. So we pray for you and you pray for us. We commemorate you and you commemorate us. And our life here is a little more difficult because as I've mentioned before, with the lack of the pilgrims, you don't see the presence anymore of the Christians all over the world to come to stand, to come to see us, to visit the monasteries. So the Christians in Holy Land, they are minority. So from where you live, from Poland, from England, from France, from Germany, from Greece, Cyprus, we beg for your prayers, that you pray for us, and at least in thoughts, that you are with us here, you think about us. We pray for you and you pray for us. And as I say all the time to the people, a candle is enough that Lord Jesus Christ have mercy on us.
I think that's a very good place to end our conversation, asking all our friends who are listening, as it were, to try and make a daily pilgrimage in prayer, as you say, lighting, whether in reality or in their imaginations, lighting a candle, making a spiritual pilgrimage, being with you, and knowing that you're also praying for us. Father, would you please assure your community and other Christians in Bethlehem of our interest and our concern and our prayer for you, and ask them too to pray for us. Thank you for being with us. We look forward to our greater coordination in the future.
I thank you so much, and I thank and I'm grateful, and I appreciate your eminence and all those that they watch, they love, they support, and they pray for us. And we will try also, and we do the same for all of you. We appreciate your love and your effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Father Ignatios, Bishop Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful to hear from you and to have an insight into life in Bethlehem at the moment during the pandemic. Thank you. And we are now going back to Austin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Austin will now have another interview live from Bethlehem.
I had the incredible opportunity to interview another shop owner in Bethlehem. We've mentioned Shepherd's Field multiple times, and the man by the name of Isa, his shop is just outside Shepherd's Field. And earlier I spoke with him about the challenges that he's facing during the pandemic. So let's go hear from Isa. All right, Isa, thanks for being with us today. Just to start things off, I wonder if you could tell us a bit about yourself and your business and your life in Bethlehem.
We have actually a souvenir shop. We have actually a souvenir shop in Bethlehem, the Shepherd's Field.
In a normal year, so it's 2019, 2018, 2017, what would this time of year look like in your shop at Shepherd's Field?
You know, this is actually the perfect time for us. It's the high season now because it's the winter time and the Christmas is coming. So all the people want to be in Bethlehem, especially at this time of the year.
And has there been any help kind of from the Palestinian Authority or the city of Bethlehem? Is there any support that businesses like yours can receive?
Okay, let's say, unfortunately, you know, the Palestinian Authority, they don't have this like kind of like, I don't know how to say it, like power to give all the money to the people, you know.
Yeah.
They're facing also a very hard time as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to remember, because I think so many people like us, we're very lucky to live in. I'm in the UK, and there's a state that can support people and businesses who are in need. But that doesn't seem like it's the case in Bethlehem, especially in this such a vital time for businesses like yours.
Yeah, because this is like, it's, you know, the support for us here is like everyone has, unfortunately, to find another work, another job. Even because no one is working and everyone is looking for a new work, but there is none, unfortunately.
I want to ask you, what is it like being a Christian in Bethlehem? So if we kind of look over 2020 and we just say, what does it mean to be a Christian who lives in the city where Christ was born and that the entire world, or the Christian world at least, turns their attention to this time every year? What is that like? What does it feel like?
The Christians in Bethlehem, especially the Christians in Bethlehem, they like forced so many difficult times by the years, and they in that time they still survive, and they learn how to survive by in a good way. They know how to live in different situations. They can force to live in it. Okay, but in this like something they facing now, the life is totally different what they had faced before. Like the income, no work, the even the different industries, not only the tourists we are talking about, because when the people like work with the tourists, the other industry works as well. They expect it to be 2020 it will be perfect for the factories, so they repaired themselves from the last year. So they bought the raw materials like the wood itself, and all the factories like was prepared for a high season. From all of a sudden they've been shut.
Are these olive wood factories? They're in and around Bethlehem, is that correct?
They are in Bethlehem, yes. All of them in Bethlehem area.
Okay. And are they typically Christian families who work in there, or is it Christian?
Yes, because each family in Bethlehem, like most of them, has small factories inside their homes.
Okay.
So they support themselves of making like olive wood carving, like mother of pearl, those things, so they can sell it to the tourists.
Yeah, and just thanks so much again. I think this kind of stuff is important.
No, actually, thank you so much for thinking about Bethlehem. This is what I'm going to say. This is very important. All the people thinking about Bethlehem. This is the most important city in the world is Bethlehem, and on this time of the year, we should all pray for the peace and for this virus to go away.
And Issa, I think that is probably the best conclusion that we could have ever hoped for. So
thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Issa. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks, Austin.
Thanks. Take care. And now I'm joined by two of my co-hosts, Drew and Anita, and we're going into a time of question and answer. So I just want to encourage people who are tuning in right now. We're taking questions on the YouTube page as well as our Facebook event page. So there's still time to get some questions in. I want to start with this question that we've gotten. You know, ICOS is a relatively new organization, and we often get asked what makes ICOS unique. Anita, could you just explain for us what makes us unique as an organization working in the Holy Land?
I think what makes ICOS unique is that we have our mandate from the 13 churches in Jerusalem. This is not an organization kind of started somewhere in the Netherlands or in the UK or in the US, but it actually originated from the Holy Land. And the churches and the church leaders in the Holy Land have asked us to be their voice in Western fora and all around the world. So it's really such a privilege to have the mandate from the churches of Jerusalem to do this precious work.
Great, thank you. And we've had another question. You know, we had this video earlier that talked about taking the message from the Holy Land out to Washington, D.C. and to London. And Drew, you work in public affairs. What's the importance of taking this message that church leaders are preaching and living out day by day in the Holy Land? What's the purpose in taking that to Washington, D.C., where you're based and where you are right now?
Well, having spent 5 years on Capitol Hill serving Congressman Jeff Fortenberry, who himself has been a leader in Congress on issues related to the Christian communities all across the Middle East, including in the Holy Land, I know firsthand that it is incumbent upon organizations like ICOS, which exist to provide an educational platform to empower voices on the ground from the Holy Land to speak about the challenges they're facing and the solutions they bring to the communities that they serve, to the people who are in power in the West who might benefit from that education, to share it with their constituents, to socialize it with NGOs and advocacy organizations, and to create coalitions that can better partner with ICOS to serve the churches, which of course is central to our mission. So again, going to the halls of power in Washington, D.C. and bringing these personal stories and these testimonials to the people who are actually in a position through public policy, through raising awareness, through channeling humanitarian assistance and other forms of aid to these longstanding Christian communities is absolutely essential to our mission and vocation.
Absolutely. Great. And we've had another question, and that's how can we better listen to the voices of Holy Land Christians? And Anita, what are your thoughts on how we can better listen to these Christians that have been around from the very beginning and continue to worship and to serve in this? How can we let them inform our faith and what we do in our churches?
I think listening is so important, and informing ourselves, because often we have preset ideas about what the world looks like. And I think it is really good to just have an idea and inform yourself and read books, watch the media, but and listen to your church leaders, but kind of get educated about what's happening in the Holy Land. And the best way, of course, is to visit it. Once we can visit, you should go and look for yourself and see what the needs are, what the opportunities, what the hope is. Another thing, somebody was asking whether we could actually have more of these virtual tours. And I hope to organize something at Easter so that we can actually go to Jerusalem in a similar way and educate ourselves, see with our own eyes, and listen to the people on the ground. I think that is so important.
That is so important. And that brings to mind when I was in Jerusalem last, I think the importance of going out there to listen directly from local Christians is so important. What comes to mind is I had the privilege to visit the monastery that actually Father Ignatios, who is on the interview with Stephen, where he previously was based. And to be there and to meet with the monks that were there and to experience, even just for a couple hours, how they live out their faith in this amazing valley in this ancient monastery was incredibly moving. And it's an experience that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. So very, very impactful. We're now going to move into an interview that Drew had. Drew, would you like to talk a little bit about the time you had with the Hudson Institute?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the interview will speak for itself to a large extent, but I had the great privilege of talking with my longstanding friend and colleague, Nina Shea, who directs the Hudson Institute Center for Religious Freedom, about her experiences on the ground in Bethlehem. And of course, like you, Austin, I spent considerable time in Jordan, in Israel, in Palestine, throughout the entire Holy Land, and I have benefited personally and enormously from my time on the ground, simply listening to the church leaders and the Christians in these communities. And I truly do feel that this is
Please visit our website, ipos.org/Bethlehem Star, and find out how you can support our sisters and brothers in the Holy Land this Christmas. We'd love for you to share the light of Bethlehem with your friends and family. We have these beautiful stars made of olive wood from the hills of Bethlehem, with inlay mother of pearl symbolizing the light shining from this city. Let this Christmas be one to treasure for the people in the Holy Land and for your family.
Hi, my name is Drew Bowling. I direct public affairs for the United States for the international community of the Holy Sepulchre. It is my privilege to be joined here today at the Hudson Institute with my longstanding friend and colleague, Nina Shea, who directs Hudson's Center for Religious Freedom. Nina, thank you for joining me here today.
It's my pleasure, Drew.
Well, Nina, going back in time and knowing of our work together, I know full well the fulsome experiences that you have had on the ground in Jerusalem, in the Holy Land, and particularly in Bethlehem. Would you be willing to share a bit with us today and with those watching here about the meaning of Bethlehem to you, the meaning of Bethlehem to the world, and some of the profound interactions that you've had on the ground in that holy place?
So it's just an amazing place. There are Christian, indigenous, local Christians, continuous presence for 2,000 years, who remain in that area today. Their numbers are dwindling. They help run the hospitals there. Christian Catholic Hospitals of Malta, I went in and visited that hospital. It was a local Palestinian Christian. And, they have brought so much to the community, both the larger world community of Christians as living witnesses to this faith that started 2,000 years ago in this place, and to the community at large with their good works, their hospitals, their job creations through stores and businesses and schools throughout the Holy Land. So it's just really essential that they remain there. There has to be a Christian presence. We cannot witness the end of a living Christianity, a Christian community, ancient Christian community in the Holy Land in our lifetime. We cannot stand by passively and let these people drift away because of lack of support. And it's particularly difficult for them in this period of lockdown and quarantine and the pandemic, because the tourism, the flights to the area have been curtailed, and people are not traveling. So it's especially important now that we think of them, we pray for them, and that we support them.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more, Nina. I myself have had the tremendous honor of visiting Bethlehem on a pilgrimage of my own back in 2014, and I was in the Church of the Nativity, and I went to the Milk Grotto, and I myself purchased a cross from one of the local businesses run by Palestinian Christians, and was able to carry that home with me. It was a very special time in my life. So I, like so many other countless pilgrims to the area, yourself included, have benefited enormously spiritually from my time on the ground there. So many people here in our own country of the United States and elsewhere throughout the West have a theoretical understanding of the Christian presence in Bethlehem, but many of them haven't gone and yearn to go. Wouldn't it be a travesty if the ravages of the COVID pandemic, which have really desiccated the local economy, were to contribute to the dwindling of that community? Because we always speak of these living stones. We don't want this to become a reliquary of empty churches without the vibrant presence of the world's oldest continuing Christian community. I completely agree that we need to do everything we can to protect and preserve that community and help them to flourish. In that regard, do you have any final thoughts on what might be done, what Americans can do, and members of the international community of responsible nations at large?
These Christians need to know that we haven't forgotten them. Many of them have one foot out the door. Their children may have drifted away, not being able to find jobs there, even in the best of times. But those who remain are committed. They know exactly who they are and what their faith tradition has been and is, and how they are carrying it forward into the future for the world. If they hadn't been there, it's very difficult to see how these sites could even be preserved, because they would not be respected by other faith traditions who have no real knowledge of what happened in Bethlehem. So it's important that these people stay for all of us, for all of our sake in the church, in the universal church. We should be praying for them, we should be visiting them when we can, and we should be supporting them in various ways.
Now I'm joined by Roni, my friend Roni again. And Roni, tell me a little bit, where are you in Bethlehem?
I am exactly now in the major square. There is some people, local people around me. You can see the church in this way. You can see the church.
Amazing.
And also you can see on the corner, this is the Nativity store. This is our store, which is established from my grandfather in 1927.
Wow.
And then my father, he was Victor, his name, the second generation, and me and my brother, the third generation, in the same spot, in the same store. Imagine, from 1927 until now, we are 3 generations in the same store, in the same spot. Just, you can see the Church of Nativity, and it's on the corner, the Nativity store. That's our blessing in Bethlehem. And the manger square, for me, it's a part of my heart. Even when I go abroad, the first thing when I come back to Bethlehem, I come to visit the manger square. So this is a part of my heart, really. I can never leave this place, and I will continue to be in this place.
That's great. And so you just explained, you must have, with the store and your family for so long, you must have spent nearly every Advent and every Christmas season there in Manger Square. So
yes.
in a typical year, what does Manger Square typically look like?
You know, I cannot describe it for you by words, because it's much bigger than words. This square is crowded of people. Not everyone can come to celebrate Christmas in Bethlehem, because it's not possible. But we have many amounts of people coming every year. For the midnight mass, we have a special permission and special permission to attend the mass, because not everyone can enter the mass in that day. But here in the square, they put the screen, so you can attend the mass by the screen outside. And here the manger square will be full crowded of people. And that's in the night of the Mass of Christmas.
Wow. And there are just a few people in the
You
square
hear me?
right now. Yeah, I can hear you. There's just a few people in the square right now. I take it that those are
Yeah.
just locals and not pilgrims.
No, they are local people living around here in Bethlehem. They don't have, not all the people, they have something to do. So they come to and have their own time here in the Manger Square. But they are all local people.
Wonderful. And I think we're going to go to another one of the videos that you did earlier, talking to a local resident. So we'll go to that now.
Mr. Johnny, we want to ask you a question about the pandemic. How the pandemic affected you as a Bethlehem resident and as a Christian from Bethlehem?
Actually, affected a lot. Imagine my last day of work was 1st of March, and today we are in November. Since that time till today, I didn't do nothing. And it's not only for me, it's for most of the people who work in tourism in Bethlehem. This is the situation here, and you know, we always pray for this pandemic to go away, and you will pray with us too. As a Christian, yes, imagine we used to go to church every Sunday, and one day you find out that the church is not open. Why? Because the infections all over the place. So imagine first time that church closed for almost 3 months. It didn't close since the 4th century. And imagine the church closed for 3 months. And this is really sad. Even in Easter time, we couldn't go to church. But the good thing that a lot of Christians open churches in their homes. Again, we always pray for the situation to get better and tourists come back again, because Bethlehem depends on tourists.
I had the amazing opportunity last December to visit Bethlehem, and in the middle of the square was this massive tree. And Roni, I'm aware that there is the beginnings of a tree behind you, but could you just explain to our viewers what it looks like and what they're doing and what it will eventually be in a couple weeks' time?
Yes, I want to tell you something. You know, we are in Bethlehem. Bethlehem passed a very difficult situation during the time, but Bethlehem never give up from hope. So that's why you can see behind me, Bethlehem begin to mount the Christmas tree. We are mounting the Christmas tree in Bethlehem. That's our message. That's the message of Bethlehem, that we will mount the Christmas tree this year, and we will celebrate Christmas this year from the Manger Square to the world. And that's our message of love and peace for all over the world. And I hope that the world will recover very soon, and we will pray for Bethlehem and from Bethlehem to the world. And I want just to take the opportunity to greet all the world. Merry Christmas from the Manger Square.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And Roni, I hear that you are, in addition to being a great anchor on the ground, you are an incredible singer as well. And I believe that there was at one point in your life where you sang for a special audience in Manger Square. Could you talk a little bit about that? Who did you sing for in Manger Square?
Yeah, look, I am not an incredible singer. I just sing for the church through when I was a child. And in the day of the Pope, they chose me to sing for the day of the Mass of the Pope Francis. And I sang a song for the homeland. In this day, it was a song for the homeland. It was not very. It was a little bit sad song, but I sang it in that day for the Pope.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Roni, you're a very humble man, because you do have a much better voice than I do. And you did sing a special song for us. And if I'm right in understanding, you did it at Shepherd's Field. Go ahead.
Actually, I did since 6 years. I'm not singing anymore, but for this program, I sang. I went to the Shepherd's Field, where the began of where the story of Jesus began, and I sing especially for this program and for you and for all the people that they are hearing us. I sang the Lord Prayer in Arabic about Father. So I sang it without any sound technician, just in the church with my keyboard for you and for all the people they are hearing us tonight. And I don't think there is more beautiful song than that, the Lord Prayer. And we ask the Lord that this pandemic will finish very soon.
A beautiful prayer in such a meaningful location. And just as we go to that video, Luke chapter 2 comes to mind, and there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping their watch over flocks at night, and an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them. And you have given us this song from that location where Christians for thousands of years have remembered where those angels came to the shepherds. So, Roni, we're gonna listen to that video now. Thank you so much for recording it earlier.
And they followed the star. They followed the star.
Absolutely.
Please visit our website, icos.org/Bethlehem Star, and find out how you can support our sisters and brothers in the Holy Land this Christmas. We love for you to share the light of Bethlehem with your friends and family. We have these beautiful stars made of olive wood from the hills of Bethlehem, with inlay mother of pearl symbolizing the light shining from this city. Let this Christmas be one to treasure for the people in the Holy Land and for your family.
Well, we're almost at the end of our program, and I hope you enjoyed our virtual tour to Bethlehem and walking the streets and meeting these remarkable people like Shireen and Roni and so many other people we heard sharing about what life is under COVID-19 in Bethlehem. This presentation is going to be recorded, and you can find it on our website or on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page. Thank
And
you
if you-
so much for watching, and I'm going to give the floor now to my colleague, Austin.
Sorry, jumped the gun a little bit there. And if your church or your home group or anyone you think would be interested in a video or recording of this event, please connect with us and let us know so we can provide you the resources you need. And also connect if you'd like to donate and get some stars ahead of Christmas. Please just let us know. Let us work together and stand alongside our sisters and brothers in the Holy Land. Looking ahead to 2021, we hope to organize more virtual trips like this, so you can engage with Holy Land Christians throughout the year. And hopefully we'll be able to lead physical groups out there so we can meet Roni in person in Bethlehem in the coming months and years. From our entire team at ICOS, we wish you a Merry Christmas, but the purpose of ICOS is to elevate the voices of Christians and the Holy Land around the world. And so with that, I want to give Roni the final word. Roni, over to you.
Thank you, everyone, for this beautiful program, and we are feeling we are not alone in this world. So thank you, everyone, and we wish you a Merry Christmas. Exactly in front from the Nativity Church, we wish Merry Christmas to everyone, and I thank you, Anita, Barbara, Lascio, all the people that they are doing this program, and I hope we see you very soon in Bethlehem. I invite you all in Bethlehem. I will be your personal guide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roni. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you all for joining.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you for watching.